Chapter 3. David watched Remy as he paced the warehouse, pondering the data-cluttered wall. They had spent days going over it again and again. It was all the same, just as it had been 6 years ago. The only change was Remy. He didn't even think of Remy as Brock anymore. They were two different men. Sure, they looked exactly the same, a tank on legs, but Brock had been snuffed out just as surely as if he had been killed in the raid. David never blamed Remy for the change. He was just glad Remy had survived at all. But gone was Remy's humor. Gone was his smile. Gone was his purpose. Security director in a casino. And before that, his brother's chauffeur and bodyguard. David scoffed. It wasn't as if those were bad jobs, but they weren't Remy. Just watching him stalk the warehouse like a lion confirmed David's thoughts. Remy's plan had always been to climb the army ranks. And it wasn't his past torments that had killed Brock. It was Ava. A woman killed his best friend. A woman who returned to kill him all over again. But not if David found her first. "I smell a rat," David drawled, glancing over at the warehouse door.
"How did you know I was here?" "I didn't make a sound,"
Rat said, slowly maneuvering around the perimeter. "How could I not? You smell like the sewer."
"I haven't been home to shower. Your girl is putting heat on me."
Ava,
Remy questioned.
where is she?
"I don't know."
What do you mean? Haven't you been tracking her?
Rat narrowed his small, watery eyes.
"I was until she disappeared."
She disappeared?
Remy questioned, irritation lacing his voice.
Where was she seen last?
Rat aimed his yellow smile at David.
"At his house."
"My house?" David demanded. Rat nodded.
"Sitting in broad daylight watching your house."
"You're lying. I would have noticed her." Rat's smile grew.
"You were too busy with your wife to notice, but I saw everything."
David pounced on Rat, slamming him against the wall. Rat's thin hands grappled with David's arm.
Leave him alone, David. You know damn well you don't notice anything when Maya is around.
David let go, snarling a curse. Ava had been outside his home. He had to get Maya out of Vegas today. She wasn't safe while Ava Hunt was prowling.
After Ava left David's house, where did she go?
"I lost her."
Rat admitted, rubbing his chest from David's assault. Rat nearly flinched at Remy's hard stare, but then he shrugged.
"I took my eyes off her for a moment and she was gone."
Rat's grin was back, aimed again at David.
"A very short moment."
David clenched his fists. He wanted to punch that smug smile off Rat's face. He felt sick knowing Rat had looked in his windows at his wife. And it certainly wasn't a short moment. Remy rubbed his forehead.
You said she was putting heat on you. How?
"You're not the only one tracking her. Someone must have spotted me and put a tail on me."
"That's funny," David said dryly. "Because you're a rat." Rat's lips curled.
"Yeah, you know what else is funny? The little birthmark on your wife's—"
David swung, his fist plowing into Rat's jaw, sending him hard against the wall. As he fell, his head cracked against the surface. Rat, cross-eyed from the blow, scrambled to his feet, teetering as he regained his balance. David lunged at him but was held back by Remy's tightened grip.
Leave him alone,
Remy repeated. David shrugged off Remy's hand, backing away from Rat. Even though he wanted to do more damage to the vermin, he'd listened to Remy just this once. "Don't make me regret this," David warned Rat.
Come back when you have information,
Remy said, leading Rat to the door and locking it behind him.
Don't let him get under your skin.
"I don't like him. I don't trust him."
And you hate that he saw Maya naked. I, unfortunately, saw her photos. Are you going to beat the crap out of me, too?
"Like I could, and that was an accident. I didn't mean to show you her pictures, just mine." He added with a smirk, then he grew serious again. "I have to get her out of town."
If you're worried about Rat, I wouldn't bother.
"Not just him. You heard what he said. If someone is tailing him, then they might wonder why he was outside my house. I don't want Maya or the baby to get hurt. She's been through enough." Remy nodded.
Go and do what you have to. You know where I'll be.
"I might be gone a day or two. Promise me you won't make a move until I return."
I don't make promises.
"Promise me." Remy shook his head.
You know I can't. Go take care of Maya. I can handle Ava on my own.
David swore. When Ava was around, Remy didn't think clearly. It was the same reaction David had with Maya. He couldn't leave Remy alone. Not even for a second, because that's all Ava would need. I'm not leaving, David said, settling into the chair with his phone. But I'll see if Maya can stay with Grayson for a few days. She won't even mind. All she talks about now is Jenna and Grayson and how adorable they are together. He snorted. Remy nodded absently and continued pacing. Hey, David greeted when Grayson answered the phone. Would you mind if Maya stayed with you for a few nights?
Is everything okay?
Grayson asked, his rapid breath loud in the earpiece. Please tell me you're working in the garden.
Yeah, why?
Never mind, I'll swing by soon with Maya.
She's already here.
She's there?
Jenna wanted Maya's advice on redecorating a few bedrooms.
David breathed a little easier. At least with a project to occupy her, she wouldn't put up much of a fuss if she had to stay over at Grayson's. The fact that she adored Jenna was helpful too.
Why don't you come over and stay for dinner?
Grayson suggested.
Bring Remy, too. One of your old friends is staying here. You can catch up.
Who?
Ava Hunt.
David flicked a glance at Remy, who was absorbed in his wall. Really? She's staying with you? David didn't know how he kept his voice steady. He felt as if Remy's anvil fist had sucker punched him.
Jenna talked her into being our guinea pig for a couple of weeks until we opened the bed and breakfast.
I'm sure you didn't have to twist her arm. Why was she there? What game was she playing?
Not at all. So, do you want to come for dinner?
Yeah, I'll be there soon. David ended the call and stood to leave. Remy glanced over.
What's up?
Grayson needs a little help. I'm going to swing by his place. I'll be back in an hour or two.
Maya can't pack in an hour or two.
There's been a change of plans?
Care to tell me about it?
Remy asked, his tone suspicious. David unlocked the warehouse door. No. Slamming the door behind him, David stalked to his car and slid in. He reached under his seat and ripped his gun from the Velcro strap. Damn that bitch to hell.
After a leisurely lunch made by a chef she swore must be magical, Ava found herself on the lounge chair again. She really must stop this. Between the food and the idleness, she was as lazy as a sated cat curled up in a sunny window. She didn't even know where her gun was. Most likely in her room. Not smart, she knew, but it wasn't like she needed it. She never used it anyway. Men lowered their guard with her, especially if she was unarmed. How could an unarmed woman harm anyone? Whoever underestimated her always learned the hard way. She sighed contently and shifted, settling comfortably until hard metal jabbed against her temple. A gun. But it wasn't Brock who wielded it. She had always known when he was near. Ava slowly opened her eyes to find David glaring at her, his face pinched into a scowl. He shoved the metal barrel at her harder.
Give me one good reason why I shouldn't pull the trigger.
He snarled. It's been a long time, David, Ava said, making sure to keep still. If she was going to make a move, it'd be when she had the best chance. How have you been?
Do you think this is a joke?
He backed away a few short steps, keeping his aim true. Not at all, just trying to be polite.
Give me one good reason,
he repeated. The ice that filled his voice matched his eyes. You used to shoot first and ask questions later, she said, knowing she was pushing his limits. I see you've matured a little.
Answer.
Ava smiled. All right. Would you care to sit? These chairs are like clouds. A bullet ripped past her ear and into the chair, sending a cloud of stuffing into the air. Well, that was a sad waste. Ava closed her eyes, letting the ringing that deafened her ears subside. Your temper is dreadful, she said, irritated that she had flinched. She held still, knowing the chair was going to find itself with a few more holes, and she didn't want to get in the way. Brock used to have the temper, remember? Or should I call him Remy now? Another bullet whizzed past, nicking the side of her arm, before lodging into the chair. She felt blood trickle down, but she held still. David was a skilled shooter. He meant to make her bleed. She knew the next bullet would find a bigger mark, but it wouldn't be a deadly blow. Not yet. However, she really didn't want to bleed any more than she was. The patio door whipped open. Jenna, Maya, and Grayson poured out, simultaneously asking questions, Ava didn't hear any of it. She shook her head to alleviate the continuous ringing.
Get back into the house.
David barked.
Oh, Ava, you're bleeding.
Maya squeaked, hurrying around David to get a closer look. She gasped.
David Miller, did you shoot Ava?
Not yet.
He growled.
Get back inside.
I will not.
She declared, stomping her foot for emphasis. Her mouth turned into a petulant child's pout.
David,
Grayson hedged, scooting Jenna behind him.
I don't know what's happening, but I don't think shooting our first guest will.
You said a friend was here.
David interrupted.
Ava is no friend. She's a killer, and she sent Remy to hell. She's a traitor.
He pointed the gun at her knee.
Aren't you?
Ava held her tongue.
Don't you dare shoot that gun.
Maya said. Her normally big blue eyes squinted into a glare.
This is between Ava and me.
David snapped.
Get inside or I'll carry you in myself.
Then you'll have to carry me.
Maya said, suddenly smiling. David groaned, knowing very well he couldn't carry his wife indoors and keep his gun aimed at Ava. Jenna peeked around Grayson.
Why don't we take a moment and regroup? I don't know what happened in the past, but Ava has been wonderful, and Maya is stressed. That's not good for the baby.
David's eyes softened slightly, but his gun was still on target. Ava stayed quiet, knowing if she uttered one word, a bullet would shatter her kneecap. She didn't come here to fight with David or his family. He had to know that. But she'd ignited his protective instincts, and she'd do well to back off for the moment. But only for a moment.
Tell me why you came here.
He demanded. Ava studied him, wondering if she should tell him the truth. No, she wouldn't tell him. He wouldn't understand. Her words were for Brock alone.
Remy watched the patio from the third floor of Grayson's mansion, clutching the window frame with white knuckles. Damn David for not telling him. As soon as David left the warehouse, Remy had followed in his cramped rental car. He already missed his caddy. He'd barely kept up with David in the tin can compact. When David turned onto Grayson's private drive, Remy had held back, wondering why he'd come here first. Now he understood. Thankfully, Remy knew the layout of the property from when he was Grayson's bodyguard and driver. He knew all the security codes, and it was easy enough to enter without being detected. He watched as David lowered his gun, aiming at Ava's leg. David wasn't a cutthroat assassin. Remy knew Ava's life wasn't in danger. Not that he cared about her, but he didn't want David carrying that burden. After all the missions he'd been on, David had enough burdens to last a few lifetimes. Remy watched as Maya, Jenna, and Grayson fled the house and tried to reason with David. He could hear the angry words through the window, but Ava never moved. She didn't try to defend herself. She just sat there, waiting. Remy knew what that meant. He knew she was up to no good. As soon as David turned his head, she'd go on the defensive. Thankfully, her gun was in her room. She would return for it. Remy flicked his eyes to her gun resting on the nightstand. Why wasn't she carrying it? Did she really think they wouldn't find her here? And why was she here? He felt so turned around, so perplexed that he wanted to plow his fist through the wall. He was done trying to solve the puzzle. He never much liked strategy games, and he hated the way his gut twisted every time he thought of Ava. It was time to end this cat-and-mouse chase. He would wait for her here where there'd be no prying eyes and no witnesses. It ends now.